yeah, if you've been tuning in, we're going to start with a little. Thanks, first of all, for jumping in and kind of learning this tune with us. Remember, this is kind of a YouTube version of the live classes that we run called Ukulab Live. And so if you want to be a part of that, be sure to check out ukuleleinspired.com. To jump into live classes with us gives you a chance to participate in the class, be able to ask questions, get some clarification on things, and also join in a really great community of folks that are learning ukulele on a regular basis. So let's go ahead and start with a little review of what we've gone over so far. This is one of the more complicated songs, so please, try not to feel too frustrated if you aren't picking up on one or two of these exercises or one or two of these skills. Just know it'll come with time, and you can always go back, review the videos that we've got so far, week 1, 2, and 3. All right, let's go ahead and remind ourselves of what the rhythm sounds like. Sounds like this: 1, 2, and 4. This is the main kind of rhythmic section. Let's go ahead and remind ourselves of the chord progression, which is A, little darling, to D, so long, 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 to E7, winter, little darling, it's been a year since you've been here. Now we go to our third rotation. Here's where we're going to change it up for the chorus. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do, D. Here comes and now we've got this chord 4 through 2 and 0, B, and I said, back to A, it's all right. And our riff. And then we've got our little tag of the riff. Right, we've got that little melody. And then we play the open A, 4, 2, 4, 0, 2. Okay, so that is a lot. Yeah, that is a lot just to be able to kind of play the verse section of this tune as well as the chorus of this tune. We're kind of jumping around quite a bit. So be sure that you review those videos if you need to review any of those sections. Something's going on with my camera for some reason here. Let me get into the full screen version of this and see what happened. Yeah, for some reason my resolution kind of switched over. So we'll see if that hopefully can kind of keep to it. Close the answer just a little bit. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, so we've got the verse and the chorus, which is kind of the main sections of this tune. We're going to go ahead and review I think the trickiest part of this tune, which is going to be the intro riff, right? The intro riff requires a lot of moving between chords and then playing individual melody notes. So let's do a quick review of that. And again, if you want some more in-depth stuff, be sure to check out week 2 and 3 videos for that. Okay, so for this section, remember what we're doing is we're playing this A here, and then we're playing this melody. Right? 4, 2, 0, 2. Chord 4, 2, chord 4, 0, 2, 4, like that on the A string. 4, 0, 2, 4, and then back to 2. Open. And then you play 4, 2, 0, and then switch to the D chord. Right? D chord. And then 0, 2, and 0, right? We've got A. 4, 0, 2, 4, open, and then we play 4, 2, 0, D chord, 0, 2, 0, and then we've got this little melodic riff here. And there I'm playing the open A string, 4, 2, 4, 0, and 2 on the A string, right? And then what we're going to do is repeat it almost verbatim. 4, 2, 4 to the D chord. 0, 2, 4, and now here, instead of playing the end of the riff line, we're just going to switch to our E7 and strum through that chord. Cool. And then we get into our third rotation, which is the chorus-ish kind of sound. What we're going to do is, here comes the sun. So I play the A chord here, 4, 2, 4, and then open. And then we play that little fast lick of the line. that 4-0-2-4, right? Kind of like we played in our opening riff. So it's here comes the sun, do, 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 4-0-2-4, right? And from here, we're going to go to the E, D again. Here comes the, and there I play 4, 2, and 0. I play a D chord, then 4, 2, 4, and now we switch to our, that little B chord, 4, 2, 4, 3, 2, and 0. So we switch to that chord. 0, 4, 0. And then we go back to the A. It's all right, which is 4, 2, 0. And then we've got our riff section. So this riff section, remember, we're going to be playing it at the end of the intro, but we're also going to be playing it at the end of the chorus too. So we really got to make sure that we lock this down, right? And for our riff section, we're going to play a 0, 2 to start. And then from here, we play the open A string in the 2nd fret. Then we play the open E, 0, 2 on the A string, then the C string 2nd fret, and then 0, 2 on the A string, and then back to the open E, and now we're going to descend 0, 4, 2, 0. And out of our intro riff, we're going to go straight into the verse. So let's see if we can try that intro into verse 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. We go chord, 4, bum, bum, bim, bum, 4, 2, 0. D chord, 0, 2, 4, 0. Now from here, remember, we do that walk down 0, 4, 2, 4, 0, 2, and chord again. Bim, bum, 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 4, 2, 0 to the chord. 0, 2, 0, and here we are not going to play the end phrase. We're just going to strum an E7. Now we're into our chorus section. Here comes the sun. Do, 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 do. And then we go to the D. Here comes the 4, 2, 4. Sun is on the B chord. Boom. And I said 0, 4, 0. Now to the chord. It's all right. 4, 2, 0. And then from here, straight into our chorus. Straight into our verse. Yeah. From there, we'd be singing, little darling, it's been a long, long, lonely winter. All right, cool. So, in terms of structure for this song, those are like the main things that we want to try to address. Make sure that you know how to play the riff section. Make sure you know how to play that little riff at the end of each chorus, and then that little turnaround tag. Those are really kind of the hardest parts of this tune. Otherwise, it's really just strumming and singing, right? So make sure that you know the chord progressions. You got those locked in. A, D, E7, 2 rotations for the verse, and then going into the chorus, which is A, D to B, and then back to A, right? And then our riff, into our riff section. So today what we want to talk about is starting to get into the more advanced ways to play these riff sections. So this is a little bit tougher, I want to say, because... and I shouldn't say advanced, I more mean into the intermediate sections of this tune. So looking at the handouts, the little additions that we want to make, and really, remember, these are optional, right? The beginning arrangement and the intermediate arrangement are both kind of interchangeable, and I would say it's choose your own adventure when it comes to difficulty. So try and keep that in mind when you're thinking about the challenges that you want to take on. Be sure that you have a really well-functioning version of this song. Even if that means that you're kind of taking it at the easiest place, I would way rather have you moving through all of the skills really smoothly than, taking on so much that the song starts to not sound musical when you play it. So always adjust your level of difficulty. Make sure that you have a functioning arrangement before you start to add difficulty on to that tune. Okay, so first thing we want to do is introduce a technique called a right-handed mute. Some people call it a chuck, a chunk. There's lots of different names for it, but I like to call it a right-handed mute because it sort of describes the actual action that you're making. And so now, instead of the rhythm sounding like this, 1, 2, and 4, it sounds more like this: 1, mute, up, 4. Right? That right-handed mute on the second beat gives us just a little bit more percussive effect, a little bit more percussive action to our strum pattern. let's go ahead and take a look at what exactly we're doing when we do that right-handed mute. So the right-handed mute is really strumming the strings at the same time you're covering them. That's the most basic explanation. I like to think about this kind of starting from the baseline level. So if I think about this normal strum that I do, see how my hand kind of drops down through the strings, nail coming across, and I give a little bit of a doorknob twist, a little bit of a turn, a little snap of my wrist to get those fingers across. Now, if I was to cover the strings with my left hand and strum across, we would get a very similar sound, but this has just a little bit more of kind of a percussive thud. And you'll notice that even these fingernails here, they're coming across the strings and they're landing on the soundboard here. And then the weight of my hand is really makes this sound a little bit more bulky than just covering the strings and strumming down like this. This one sounds just a little bit more aggressive. It's a little bit more of an attack. And most importantly, we're doing it with our right hand, which is why I call it a right-handed mute. So I like to think this in steps. First thing you can do is just try and cover the strings after you strum them to get the sound to stop. So what I'm doing here is I'm just strumming across the strings, and then I'm dropping the palm of my hand across the strings like that. See? So that's like the beginning stages of this technique, is just learning how to stop the strings in the right spot. And I like to think of like kind of keeping, almost starting like in the center a little bit, maybe a little bit outside of the center, and then kind of wrapping around on the palm going across the thumb here, right? So strum and then just try to get all the strings to stop ringing. Now, if one of your strings is still ringing out like that, see, that just means I didn't cover it correctly, right? I just need to make sure that I'm getting from the G string all the way down to the A string. This is really just teaching you placement. Cool? So the next step in this process is to try and make that happen a little bit faster. So right now it's kind of like whomp, and then it's cutting off after a little, like half a second of sound. And then I'm just kind of practicing my placement. Now what I want to do is just try to make the distance between when I start sound and when I stop it a little bit less, right? So I can go from here, going wah, and then covering to just a little bit shorter. So now I'm going here, and then I'm dropping my hand. So now I'm moving just a little bit quicker, right? One of the things you'll notice as you start to get into this technique is that the angle of attack changes slightly. Instead of me kind of strumming across the strings to get this ideal little round section, round kind of line that my pointer finger is tracing across the strings, what I want to do now is more come from out away from the instrument towards the instrument. So now my angle of attack, instead of kind of rounding and going across the strings without interfering, now what I want to do is kind of come out from the instrument and in. So I start my strum a little bit out from the instrument, and then I come in towards the instrument at more of like a diagonal line, right? That'll start to get me to the place where my strum and then my cover is coming closer and closer to each other, right? So strum and then cover. Try to be as quickly as you can about it. Try to make that sound in between each one short. Cool. The last step in this process is to try to make them all one motion. So now what I want to do is, as I come in contact with the string with my pointer finger, my hands are already turning to cover the strings. So now when my pointer finger is making contact with the first string, I turn my wrist at the same time. Just like this. Cool? Simple exercise. I like to do quarter notes and then mute on the 2 and the 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And then you can do a simple 8th note exercise, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So the thing about kind of sequencing a right-handed mute or a chuck or a chunk in this way is that what you start to realize is that this is not really kind of a strength. This is not a heavy move. I don't want this really big attack. Some people will kind of play this by just slapping the ukulele like this. And this is quite a different sound than we're going for. And it's also really throws you out of your like rhythmic movement. If you watch when I'm doing a down strum and a mute, the motions are really similar. I'm not really changing the way my hand attacks the instrument at all. And I would say if you have the sound off and don't hear that mute, it might just look like I'm strumming, right? And remember, it's really just a finesse move. It's more about placement than anything else. Cool. So if you hear one string just ringing out after you mute, right? I kind of made the example, if I can do it. Yeah, I'm hearing kind of the G string ring out. Then that's placement. That's about where your hand is. If you're hearing all the strings and then it kind of quickly mutes out there, that's more of a timing thing, right? So you really want to think about that. Is my placement right and is my timing right? So what you eventually want to end up with is the strum happening at the same time as my cover, right? Strum and cover, strum and cover. Cool? So it's like a basic introduction to the right-handed mute and how we can use it, to approach this tune, this tune's rhythm to give it just a little bit more movement, right? So my rhythm goes from sounding like this, 1, 2, and 4, to sounding more like it has a little bit of percussion in it. 1, 2, and 4, right? 1, 2, and 4, and finish on 1. Got a little turned around. Sorry about that. Okay, cool. So let's see if we can try the verse progression with that rhythm. 1, mute, up, down, and down, mute, up, down, and 1, 2, and 4, and A. Little darling, it's been a long, long, lonely winter. Little darling, it's been a year since you've been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here beam the sun, and I said, hey, it's, here's our riff. There's our little pickup riff. Okay, cool. So yeah, just introducing that right hand mute. Again, if hopefully if you know how to do this technique, you might pick up a little bit of insight as to exactly what you're doing. And if this is your first time trying it, then yeah, take it slow. Like doing the rhythm with that new technique along with the chord progression can be way more challenge than you're ready for. So remember, you can always just do rhythm without any chords, or you can cover the strings so you can still practice singing. Sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Always dial back the difficulty if you're feeling a little bit too overwhelmed. All right, let's talk about kind of the next approach. Now, this is going to be very, very brief. This is something that I really want to focus on, and I have been focusing on in our live classes, which is a technique called campanella. So campanella is really an approach where you revoice the melodies that you're playing. To revoice those melodies that you're playing in a way where each successive note is on a different string. So what ends up happening is that instead of playing the note, right, those 0, 2 there, what we do is kind of assign each of these notes their own placement on each string, right? So now that melody, if I can get that to happen, what ends up happening is that each melody note will ring across. Hopefully it will ring across the next preceding note, right? So if I'm listening to this melody, it can sound a little more like. Now, do you notice how in that sound, instead of each one of those notes, bop, 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 they have a little bit more of individuality, and here you get a little bit more of those notes ringing across each other. It gives a lot easier way to carry your sustain and use it to play your melodies a little bit more legato instead of so staccato, right? So let's go ahead and just learn a kind of a chord form here. This is going to be 4 on the G string, open, 2, and then open, right? So I've got 4 on the G string, 2 on the E string held. You can always use your ring finger here if that's a little bit more helpful, but I really like using that middle finger with a little bit more of a stretch. Now that I'm in this position, let's see if we can try something. Let's play the E string, and then the A string, and then the G string. Now, do you remember how in the melody we had a note, right? That note, 0, 2, another note and that same 0-2. So what we've really done is taken this 0-2 on the A string and kind of revoiced it. Now instead of playing 0-2, what I play is 0 on the A string, and then I play the 4 on the G string. Instead of cutting off the sound of the A string by playing a 2, I'll play the 4 on the G string on a different string, and now I get this. See how those notes cross over each other. So go ahead and start with the pointer finger on the E string, 2 right here. Play the E string, A, and G. Now, you'll get really used to this motion with your right hand because it's so repetitive. See how I'm playing E, A, G. Guess what? I'm actually going to do the next line the same way with the right hand. I play E, A, G. So it's more like I'm memorizing a finger picking pattern than I am kind of learning a traditional melody that you play with 2 hands. So I'm playing 2, 0, and 4. 2 on the E string, open A, and 4 on the G string. I really like this kind of individualized finger picking pattern as well. I'm using my pointer finger to play E, middle to play A, and then thumb to play G. Cool. Now after this, you can do that same picking pattern, but you lift your pointer finger and you get a different starting note. Instead of 2, this F sharp note, you get an open E. But what's really cool is you just repeat the pattern and you get the next section of the melody. Now, as you can imagine, I'm going to go to the 2 right here, and I'm going to play C string, E string, or A string, G string. So now I've just changed my pattern slightly. Instead of you doing E, A, G like this, I'm going to do E or C, A, G. So now I'm playing C, A, G instead of E, A, G, right? So now that I'm there, I can put my pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the C string and play C, A, G, just like that, C, A, G. Cool, so let's go ahead and start on the first one again. Pointer finger 2nd fret of the E string, ring finger 4th fret of the G string. I'm going to play E, A, and G. E, A, and G. Now I'm going to kind of substitute what I was doing before and use my thumb to play the starting note. I'm going to play 2 with my thumb, open A and G with my middle, and then thumb. Now from here, I'm going to use my thumb again, play the open by taking my pointer finger off the E string, but I play that same right-handed pattern. E, A, G, just like that. And now I'm going to put my pointer finger down on the C string 2nd fret, and now I'm going to use that as my starting point. I'm going to play the C string, A, G, and then guess what? Super easy. I go back to the open E string, and then the A, G, just like that. So my melody is a lot more flowing, and you know, I've put a lot of time into this. Don't be frustrated if, you know, you can't play it smoothly like that. I really think that Campanella style and Campanella approach is really one of those things, like it's harder. It's a lot harder to play up until it isn't, right? So you're just kind of memorizing the movements a little differently. And I would say this is that one of the things I love about Campanella is how it feels in my body to play melodically like this. Not only does it sound really nice, right? I really love playing in this style and this approach because, yeah, it's just a little bit of a different feel. And for somebody who's played ukulele as long as I have, that's one of the things that I really appreciate about learning new technique is it just feels different, right? This instrument that feels so familiar, and, you know, I've kind of got my hands around it and feel comfortable in a lot of aspects of it. It's nice to kind of break that mold and do something different that feels a little bit, you know, more interesting and more new and more fresh. So don't be frustrated again if you know, being able to do this is like not coming to you right away. Just know that you can kind of memorize these and take them in bite-sized chunks, just like anything else, right? So we've got that pointer finger is on the E string, ring finger 4th fret. Ring finger just stays. Really all I'm doing is lifting my pointer finger first, and then I'm putting my pointer finger down on a different string, C, and I start there, and then I go back to the E string. And then from there, you can play your little descending line. Cool? So again, 4, 0, 2, and 0, I play the E string, and then open, and then 2, and then open E, and then from there, I can play my descending line. So I just want you to know that we're really just introducing this concept in the intermediate arrangement. We actually do a little bit of Campanella approach to that ending riff as well. That little descending line we revoice a little bit differently so it goes across the strings. But again, if you want to get more into that, you can just follow along with the sound slice. You can figure out where those notes are and play that phrase. For now, we're really just kind of leaving the pickup in the end the same, and we're just trying to do this little campanella approach to the middle section, the bulk of what that is. So let's give it a try one more time before we get out of here today. So remember, pointer finger is on the E string, ring finger is on the G string, and then you're going to play E, A, G. You're going to repeat E, A, G, take the pointer finger off. Now pointer finger down on 2 of the C string and play that string to start, A, G, and then back to open E. And then from here, you can play that little descending line to finish. Cool? Now all we need is the pickup. If I play 0, 2 on the E string, from there, I can set up into my phrase. 0, 2, A, G, as long as I've got my shape held down. Descending line there. Cool. Take it nice and slow. 1, 2, ready, go. 0, 2, play the A string, 4th fret G, open E string, open A, 4th fret G, and now pointer finger down, C string, A, G, and then back to the open A, E string, A, G, and then we can descend our line down to here. Good. Let's give it one more try. 0, 2, open A, 4th fret G, open A, G, 2 on the C string, A, G, back to open E string, A, G, and now I can descend that melody down and finish on A together. All right, cool. That's it for this week. That's actually it for this month. Hopefully you've had a good time working on this tune together. And remember, if you want to learn more about ukulab and what we've got to offer, be sure to check out ukuleleinspired.com. You can reach me at ukuleleinspired@gmail. Feel free to reach out. It'd be nice to touch base with you guys, and hopefully I can see you guys in another class. All right, take care. Thanks again. Bye.